In this video, I'm sharing my opinion that all maps are lies. They, maps, have agendas. They are political, religious, and egotistical. They are spam, obviously maps backwards. What is spam? An irrelevant or unsolicited message sent over the internet, typically to a large number of users for the purpose of advertising, phishing, spreading malware, etc, etc. And as you can see is an image of malware on your computer. Malware comes from the word malicious, to cause harm. Malware software is specifically designed to disrupt damage. And that's what they're doing to us with these maps. You might be asking, why? Why the lie? What's the reason behind this? Well, because the maps we use today basically come from the Great Vowel Shift period. The Mercator map of 1569 is one said map, still used today. The map is a cylindrical projection. How can I say that then? I'm not saying it again if I can. The projection is mostly used for navigational purposes on maps. It is less practical to use for world maps as it distorts scale of land masses, etc. So you can see how bad it is, obviously, because it's a cylindrical. I said it again. So it's a projection. What is the meaning of that? An estimate or forecast. And that is basically what he did. He forecasted, he projected it. You can't use that as fact. And also in the lie, the cardinal directions too. That's also affected by it. Because it is only within the last few hundred years that north has been consistently at the top. So just let that sink in. How long we've been travelling by sea and north has just been put at the top in the last few hundred years.
A few moments later.
The uncomfortable truth is that despite almost everybody imagining the world is this way up, which we don't, there is no good scientific reason to think of north as being the roof of the world. The story of how it came to be considered that way is a heady mix of history, astrophysicists and psychology, and it leads to the important conclusion. It turns out the way we have decided to map the world has very real consequences how we actually feel about it. Given such a long history of human map making, it is perhaps surprising that it is only within the last few hundred years that north has been consistently considered to be the top. In fact, for much of human history, north almost never appeared at the top. According to Jerry Broughton, a map historian from the Queen Mary University, London, and author of A History of the World in 12 Maps, north was rarely put at the top for the simple fact that north is where darkness comes from. He says west is very unlikely to be put at the top because that's where the sun disappears. Confusingly, early Chinese maps seem to buck this trend, but Broughton says even though they did have compasses at the time, that isn't the reason that they placed north at the top. Early Chinese compasses were actually orientated to point south, which was considered to be more desirable than the deepest, darkest north. But in Chinese maps, the emperor who lived in the north of the country was always put at the top of the map, with everyone else, his loyal subjects, looking up towards him. In Chinese culture, the emperor looked south because it was where the winds came from. It was a good direction, and north is not very good, but you are in a position of subjection to the emperor, so you look up to him, says Broughton. There we go, guys. That's a shocker, isn't it? So why I've just mentioned the Chinese compass, I'll show you a brief little bit on it. Originally it was called the south pointing fish, and the ancient Chinese used what we know as the compass for worship, not actually directions, and it was for fortune telling and geomancy. So it just shows you what we don't really know. and for the alignment or the aligning of buildings and tombs. So it's very intriguing about the early compass. And the compass as we know it today was basically only started to be used about the 12th to 13th century, the Great Vowel Shift. And given that each culture has a very different idea of who or what they should look up to, it's perhaps not surprising that there is little consistency in which earlier maps pointed. In ancient Egyptian times, the top of the world was east, the position of the sunrise. Early Islamic maps favoured south at the top because most of the early Muslim cultures were north of Mecca, so they imagined looking up to the south towards it. So it's just another intriguing perspective that I want to show in this video. The Hereford Mappa Mundi or Mundi, made roughly in 1290. Now the reason I want to show this is because obviously I briefly talked about it. East is at the top of the map, south is on the right, west is at the bottom, and north is on the left. It's intriguing, isn't it? And at the centre of the map we have Jerusalem, the centre of the known Christian world. And something, a little treat now because I found it, it's an actual quick exploration of the map itself. So while I showed you the map in Monday, I thought, you know what, let's do and explore, let's have a look at the map in Mundi itself. And I found from Map in Mundi that from Hereford Cathedral you can actually explore the map. So I thought, you know what, that would be nice to do. So let's start at the top, and all you do is Christ Imagine. You just click on the image and it obviously appears, and you can just change different things. So this says Christ in majesty. Christ sits enthroned in a majesty above the world, as though surveying all creation. He holds up his hands to show the wounds of crucifixion, and a spear wound on his side is also visible on his right. The saved rise out of their coffins and enter the gates of heaven. On his left the damned are stripped bare, chained together and dragged towards the gates of hell, symbolised by the opening mouth of the great beast. So it is interesting. You've also got near the top, you have Eden at the top. The earthly paradise. Eden is represented by a circular island on the eastern extremes of the world, the top. The drawing of the map shows an Eden that is inaccessible to humanity. It is surrounded by a ring of fire, separated from the landmass by water, walled and battlemented, basically like star-forted type of thing, a bastion, whatever the people want to call them these days, and its gates are firmly closed. Within the wall Eve holds out her hand to take the fruit of the tree of knowledge from a demon-headed serpent which lurks in the branches of the tree. If you actually want to go and look at this yourself in more closer detail, zoom in, and I just go to www.themappamundi.co.uk. Also near the top is Noah's Ark. The Bible tells how, angry with the wickedness of humanity, God decided to cause a great flood to wipe out mankind. The only man untainted by his wickedness and worthy of saving was Noah. So the God asked Noah to build a great ship, the Ark, to save the animals of the world and his own family. Inside of the drawing of the Ark you can see a number of the beasts and 3 people, including the bearded man who could be Noah. And as you know from my research, there is literature to say that Noah is Janos. So you can just see, and there you have the Red Sea and Exodus. On the map there is a clear pathway through the Red Sea. This marks the route of the children of Israel out of slavery in Egypt and towards the Promised Land. If you follow the meanderings of the route, you will see the Israelites got lost in a desert and then finally found their way to the Promised Land. For medieval Christians, this story spoke of the passing through the water of baptism, undertaking this journey and wanderings of life, then finally finding salvation. So a bit further down, you have the Tower of Babel. The imposing city of Babylon, with its 5 elaborate stories, is the largest structure on the map. The Bible gives details about Babylon's impressive size and construction, and similar details appear in text of the map. As well as representing the city of Babylon, the topmost tower of the drawing on the map is labelled Tower of Babel. The story of the Tower of Babel tells how in arrogance people sought to build a city with a tower so high that it could reach the sky. but God punished the overreaching pride, causing humanity to speak in different languages. Hence why I did my research on the vowel shift. And what's funny is, if you think of Sumerian architecture, the Tower of Babel, how we see it, is not like this. They're more designed like a ziggurat. So there you go from that. I don't think I'll click on everyone, but I'll click on a few just so I can show you. I've done Eden. Oh, there's an elephant. So you can see the different beasts as well in the map. Obviously you have an elephant there. I'll not read it out because it will be here all day. You have what they say, it looks like a camel. Doesn't it look a bit like Never Ending Story? I can see little two humps, but that does look like, you know, the animal from that, the dragon of sorts. You then what's got a lynx. It says on the map, the lynx along the southern coast of the Black Sea, looking towards over its shoulder. So it says, like many medieval illustrations of lynxes, it urinates a precious stone. On the map, the stone is reported to be black. That's interesting. But some medieval books of bestiaries or bestiaries, I've done a video on that if you want to check it out, that they say the stone is a flame coloured and similar to carbuncle. When the map was made, as now lynxes were understood to have very keen eyesight, the map says the lynx sees through walls and urinates a black stone. And obviously on here, you've got unicorns too. So it's an interesting map. You know, it's good to have a look on this. It's free. Jerusalem is at the centre, like I've just been showing you, and that's what's intriguing. How we've navigated the so-called waters for eons. How did they do that if the directions were all changed? And this is the point of the video. It's not to insult anyone. It's not to show anyone. I'm just showing you that all maps are lies. Basically, they have an agenda. Jerusalem, represented by a circular battlemented wall, enclosed 8 towers or gates, is the place of the crucifixion and the centre of the map. The centre of Ezekiel in the Old Testament of the Bible says, "Thus says the Lord God, this is Jerusalem. I have set her in the centre of all the nations." And the Hereford map is just one number of medieval maps that show Jerusalem at the centre of the known inhabited world. So you have Hereford there. You have obviously Jerusalem, you have Rome on the map, and you have Paris. Quite similar, Rome and Paris, aren't they? And have look at how they designed the buildings. They do a bit look like the Kremlin slightly, don't they? So there you have those. What else have we got going around? Babylon, we have Skypods. I've talked about them in my beastry video. So you got some of the animals, so-called animals and people. On that you got Blemiers, obviously with the headless people. You have the Skypods or the monopods. You have troglodytes and Cenocephali, the dog-headed people. This basically talks about the stories about men with the heads of dogs and barking voices are many and varied and go back to classical antiquity. Some medieval travellers and writers describe the Cenocephali as barbarians who can tender 1 minute but aggressive and uncontrolled the next. In one medieval legend from Wales, the Cenocephali can be interpreted as werewolves. In some other legends, St. Christopher is reported to be a giant with a head like a dog. So it's interesting, it gives you a little bit, not a great deal, but can't complain for free. So you have the Cenocephali there, lynxes, golden fleece. The myth of Jason and the golden fleece is a tale of quest, adventure and superhuman heroism. Jason and the Argonauts sailed westward from Greece in their ships, the Argo. Their quest was to find and bring back the magical fleece of the golden ram. Along the way, Jason encountered both love, duplicity, but finally brought the fleece back to Greece. Our map, the golden fleece, is shown on the coast of the Black Sea. It is possible that the legend is connected with colonisation of the Black Sea coast. So you have different things in it. There we have the pillars of Hercules, or the columns of Hercules. An interesting fact here says, according to myth, the columns of Hercules were located at the Strait of Gibraltar and marked the western extreme of the inhabited world. That's where I was born, in Gibraltar. Tradition has it that the words "nothing further beyond" were written on the pillars. Now that's interesting, because if you think about it, if this is, what was it, 1290, and he said nothing is further from here, yet we have so-called stories of Atlantis thousands of years ago being past the Straits of Gibraltar. Makes you think, doesn't it? So it says, tradition has it that words nothing further beyond were written on the pillars. Roman versions of the myth tell how Hercules, with his superhuman strength, crashed through Mount Atlas to reach the Garden of Hesperides. Joining the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean, the split of the rock became known as the Column of Hercules. You've also got the labyrinth, and in Greek mythology, the Cretan labyrinth was built by Daedalus to contain the Minotaur. It's a famous story, myth, true, who knows, because we know what history is like. But in the Middle Ages, many cathedrals had a labyrinth set out on the floor, and pilgrims would walk the labyrinth as a spiritual pilgrimage. And it's likely this sort of labyrinth would have been known to medieval viewers in the map. I talked about this briefly in a few videos. The last one was the bicameral mind, how the Jerusalem cross turns into a labyrinth. It's an interesting thing, and hopefully, if you remember, I'll put the link to this so you can explore it yourself in more detail, because like I said, I've briefly talked about a few things on the map, and it will be here all day. There's not a great deal on it, but the interesting thing about it was I wanted to show you that, yep, east is at the top of this map. And how did we explore this realm if all the cardinal directions are not what we say in it? And that's the point of the video. It's not to insult anyone who's made a map or this or that. It's basically showing you that all the ancient maps, all the maps that are still used today basically in a fashion, are all lies. Political, religious, egotistical, and as you can see, my point is being proven. Right, so this was from the Mapping Monday, and like I said, I'll put the link in the description. When Columbus describes the world, it is in accordance with east at the top. This is another map by Nicholas Deslians, 1566. It was upside down map. Just intriguing about the maps, and it just makes you think. And that's all I ever want to do. Don't have to agree, you just have to think. Muhammad al-Idris's map from 1154, upside down with north at the top, meaning south at the top. I think this is another one by him. So if you see the maps from different countries and cultures, north was man-made. So it's an intriguing thing, isn't it? There is nothing inevitable or intrinsically correct, not in geographic, cartography or even philosophical terms, about the north being represented as up, because up on a map is a human construction, not a natural one. Some of the very earliest Egyptian maps show that the south was up, presumably equating the Nile's northward flow with the force of gravity, and we know that doesn't exist. And there was a long stretch in the medieval era when most European maps were drawn with east at the top. If there was any doubt about this move's religious significance, they illuminated it with their maps' pious illustrations, whether of Adam and Eve or Christ enthroned. In the same period, Arab map makers often drew maps with the south facing up, possibly because this was how the Chinese did it in certain eras. The first known compass rose on a map was in 1375. The map is known as the Catalan Atlas. And here's just an example of the compass rose used on the map. It's an intriguing map. I'm going to go into it a little bit more detail in a sec. But I have to still say it still wasn't used like we use the compass today or the map today. So a brief description on the map. The Catalan Atlas is the most important Catalan map of the medieval period, drawn and written in 1375. It was produced by the Majorcan cartographer school and attributed to Crezes Abraham, Crezes, pardon the pronunciation, a Jewish book illuminator who self-described as being a master of the maps of the world as well as compasses. These 4 remaining leaves make up the actual map, which is divided into 2 principal parts. The map shows illustrations of many cities whose political allegiances were symbolised by a flag. Christian cities are marked with a cross, other cities with a dome. Wavy blue vertical lines are used to symbolise oceans, place names or important ports are transcribed in red, while others are indicated in black. Unlike many other nautical charts, the Catalan atlas is red with the north at the bottom, so still again doesn't matter about the compass. As a result of this map, these maps are orientated from left to right, from far east to the Atlantic. So it just proves my point again. Doesn't matter if there's a compass on it, still not red using the compass as we use today. And here you go, there is a map in its 4 leaves in its all its glory. But wait, I've seen this a long time ago and it just didn't dawn on me. If you remember, I did a video on what is known as the Eye of Sahara. Have a look in what is in Africa. I'll not zoom in, I'll just use a clearer, just more focused map. There you go. Look at that. Can you see it there, guys? I'll pinpoint it. That to me is either a wall or it's a path. It's a road and it goes all the way across the African desert. This is 1375. I can't see any markings for the Eye of Sahara, so obviously, you know, you can believe in the maps of the dates. Is it real, is it fake? But if you go off this, in 1375 there is no Eye of Sahara anywhere on the map, plus there's a huge road, path or wall across it. It just blew me away, this. And I'm like looking at it, and you know, when you look at things, it just doesn't twig. I mean, I put this in a video a year and a half ago and it just didn't twig, and then I'm just obviously putting together for this new version of it. I'm like, no way, there's a road or there's a path all the way across Africa there. And if you look on Google Maps now, I know it's Google Maps, but the only thing we can use, and I'll put an image on the screen now. It just blew me away. So people could say like the Eye's Hard is a bit further down, which it could be, but something of that significance, you think it would appear on a map. And as you can see, there's a lot more cities, but this huge wall or this huge path across the Sahara, it just blew me away. Maybe I got a little excited, guys, but when you see something like a path or a wall going through Africa that you've never seen before, it makes you think. Because obviously, you know, I've done a video about walls. I have to put it back up on the new channel when I get time. But as you can see, here's the map. There is the Eye of Sahara. So you can see, I'll just zoom in a little bit. There you go. I've done a video on that if you want to check out the different theories on that. So they have, obviously, the Sahara and the continent of Africa. Now, if you put the image on that I'm talking about, there is the path, there is the wall. Obviously, it could be either of them. So there's no Sahara, the Eye Sahara, but could it be further down? Which it could well be. As if I put the image on for the full map and move it down, it only goes up to here on this map. So you could say this, the Sahara may be in this region. I have to just, you know, give it that. It could well be. I just found it fascinating that this map, as you can see, there it is, and it has none of these cities that you can see on the map today, and this is 1375. So it's just intriguing, isn't it? And there you have the region. So it roughly could be this region here, or this. I'm just assuming from the formations that I can see, could it be this all the way up, but then it goes to there, or here, or here, or it could be bang on where that is underneath that, because if you look at it, it just could be. I just found it fascinating, and I'm not, like I said, talking about the High Sahara now. I just saw that map and I thought, wow, I never knew, because a lot of people don't even know about the Great Wall that the Nabateans built. And if you don't know the Nabateans built, if you look at Petra, the Nabateans built that, and they built a great wall that not many people know of that went across and protected them. So it's just intriguing, and I thought I'd share that with you. So after seeing this image, you know it got me excited because it's showing a Saharan wall or a Saharan pathway. Now, if you type in the Sahara wall, this is the image that you get. So I was thinking, could this be that image we've seen on that old map? I mean, this is in the Western Sahara. They say it was built in the 1990s. And I'm like, no way, never heard of it. I mean, they're claiming it's 2,700 kilometres long, or about 1,700 miles long. And they say it's a modern day wall built with sand and whatever they can find. There's a Dakar rally going through in the middle. And basically, they're saying the Moroccan government built it to stop insurgents and whatever the reason is it. Now, all we ask is, could it be the fact they're hiding history again like they have, and they say it's built? Who knows? Well, it's a hard one because as you can see the army there, they've mined it, they put IEDs in the wall. It's crazy, but this is it. Now this is the supposed path of this wall that they've made. It's not in the direction of that. So could it be including a little bit, or is this another example of maps lying? Who knows? But what's funny is we know Trump likes a good wall. On the right is a so-called idea he had to some government agency that he should build a wall across the Sahara, and exactly matches the image in the map from the 1370s. So is it a wall? Is it a pathway? I just don't know. It's not following the so-called path of the Moroccan wall, but it's still intriguing. It's still showing you an ancient path, an ancient wall built in the Sahara, and it's just so cool. It's interesting to me. And when I research ancient walls, I never even came across this. The term cardinal is from the Latin word meaning cardo. It means a hinge. Northeast, southwest, basically like the news. So, in my honest opinion, the cardinal directions are named after the goddess Cardia. So that would mean cardinals are also named after the goddess. And she was, yep, you got it, the lover of a god called Janos. You might have heard of him. So I want to read you a little bit of information out on Cardia. Just to give you a little bit of flavour to understand why I've put it in. I know it's in regards to the cardinal directions, my own personal opinion, but you'll see it's not just my own. So Cardia is the Roman goddess of the door hinge who protects the family and children of the house and keeps evil spirits from crossing the threshold. Her name comes from the Latin word cardo, which I've already showed, which means hinge, and which also encompasses the wider symbolism of the pole or axis around which the earth spins. Yes, I know guys, I'm reading it out, you don't have to actually, you'll get triggered. Oh, he said it spins. She is therefore a goddess of the centre as well as the change that emanates out of that centre. The word cardo was also used by the Romans to refer to the north-south axis on which the new city was founded, the east-west line being the Decumanicus, and from this we get our word cardinal, meaning fundamental or principal, especially regarding the directions. And this is a goddess who is the lover of Janos. Yeah, you know that insignificant god I research and do a few videos on that. Certain people seem to get triggered. I'm showing you that everything connects to this guy, even the cardinal directions.
Yeah, they call me the black sheep. You know they call me the black sheep. I'm running wild while you're asleep. That's why they call me the black sheep.
Hello and welcome. Right guys, I have to say a big thank you for all the support. It gets me so emotional, so thank you guys. For anyone that's new subscriber, hopefully the guys are making you feel welcome when we do have a premiere, and I'm making you feel at home, because I want everyone to feel a part of the flockers, as we say. So I made this video originally a few years ago, and it might have been very, very long, and I want to make things a bit more palatable for people and a bit more easy to follow, because my techniques of making a video and my editing are getting better as I go. I still find it hard because obviously I don't have enough time, so sometimes you just want things to get done, don't you? Get done, I tell you. And you know, I miss and miss sometimes, but you know, I do work hard. So what I've done with this one is I've just made it a little bit different, contains some of the major points, but this video maps basically the greatest lie ever told. Will get a few people wings ruffled, as the saying goes, because people get defensive. It's like an inbuilt thing. It's prime. What's that? Is it not primordial? Is it primordial? It's like, seems something in us that we need to defend what is so-called ours. Like, you have a boundaries of your house, anyone crosses it, why are you here? You don't have permission to be on man. You know what I mean? We've seen it all before. We've seen it with the ancient American Indians, and how the so-called West took all their land. The Indians say it's not our land, we all live on it together, and we do. But the essence of a map is egotistical, it's psychological, it's religious. It's all of those things, because people want to prove, yes, this is where I live and this is bigger than you live. Look at the size of you, you're only that big. So that is the reason I wanted to put it. It's not here to diss anyone who makes maps or follows a specific map. Again, look in the communities. People will call each other shills, idiots, blah blah blah, if they follow a specific map of this realm that they deem, you know, they favour. I mean, come on guys, we're doing the job for them again. It's a map. All maps are lies. It's basically why I originally did it, just to show people, listen, it's cool to want to know where you live, this realm, and there's so many theories onto what we actually live. People believe it's this, that, assimilation. There's so many things that people believe. And who's to tell each individual you are wrong? Who's the judge and the juror? Never do their job for them. That's why maps are spam, because it's just backwards spam. And we know what spam does. It's obviously another word for malware, and I showed you what the other thing for malware is. It's to cause harm. It causes friction. It's psychological. Like I was saying, people argue and fight over their lands. How many wars have been done over, you've crossed my boundary, I did not give you permission? You know, we've seen it through history. I know we can't go off his story, but you still see my point. Maps are, in essence, a divisional tactic. Whose authority? Is there some people, for instance, that come in and do maps that are so not in anyone's favour? They are non-political, blah blah blah. They're not, because who makes maps? Humans. We define our own borders. It's psychological. It's like, sorry to be a bit crude, but it's like a penis measuring device. Oh, look at this. And that's what happens when you get a lot of men and people with that type of mentality in a room. Well, I've got this type of car. Well, my car goes faster. My car is bigger. My car goes over, it's four-wheel drive. So we always have it. And there is also an agenda from the people who call themselves elites, the elites. So we not only have ourselves that we are fighting amongst, we also fighting amongst them. And I keep trying to tell people, don't do the job for them. So when someone says to me, where do you live? What map do you believe in? I've been drawing and devising maps for years. Does not mean they're 100% correct. How are you going to prove it? For me, what you would have to do would have to hover above land, and obviously a bit like LiDAR, but everything is, there's a flaw with it. So, you know what I mean? Is there an actual 100% way of actually mapping this realm? And someone will be screaming, oh, well, such and such has done it. Well, what tools are we using? For instance, are these people using north, east, south and west, but then devising a map around it? That's my point. North is man-made. I've showed you that. Other people believe that. Does it mean it's correct? No, because I don't state it as a fact. But I'm just showing you, we can't use their tools to then push forward. Because I see a lot in a community saying, Paul, what you're saying is a little bollards, and most of the times it could well be. But you can't use history to help you, then diss someone else's proof or theory because it's history. We're all in this together. It's all about theorising and trying to get to the best grips of we can. So that is why maps are lies. For instance, Mercator, he never ever left the building. Never. And you say, well, how has he done all these maps? He had people to go out and basically cartographers. He went out, did the maps, bought them off people, asked other people then. So it was like, what's that word now? Departmentalised. So he sent someone out to do it. They went to the regions or went travelling. They bought maps off certain people, you know, and then went all the way down the chain. He got hold of them and then designed them. Well, you can already remember that. What's it called now? Tip of me tongue, Paul. Is it West Wing who had an episode of people coming in trying to sell and ask two members of the president's entourage to change the maps for educational purposes because the Mercator map was heavily flawed because obviously it bulged and deformed the size of land masses. For instance, they use an example. Look at Greenland. Africa's so many times bigger than Greenland, yet look on the map. So if you remember that, this is my whole point. It's political. This guy had an agenda, whether it's religious, political, egotistical. We don't know. I wasn't in that time period. I don't know even if that person was real, because that time period was the great vowel shift. So you're telling me compasses, maps with north at the top and blah blah only started in this period when they changed the shape of this realm? It seems to me like there was an agenda, and that's why I didn't put more stuff in about the great vowel shift, because I've done a video on it and I don't want people to think of this and then this and this. So if you want to check out my great vowel shift, also known as the Babel effect, please do it. It's in my videos. You just have to go to the video section and you'll find it. I think it's one of my most popular uploads to date since I've started this channel. About nearly 8,000 views. So I appreciate everyone who's passed it about. It means so much. Again, it's only my theory for me to help me to get through this place. So you had a time period called the Great Vowel Shift when everything changed. Maps, everything. I mean, we still, for 700 years or whatever the time period, they had islands that didn't exist on maps. So if they didn't exist, why are they still going on maps? Because it was a political reason. There is an agenda. Whether they're real or not, who knows? We see more maps every day showing extra land. How do we get to this extra land, even if these exist? Because these, some people say they're fake, some people say they're real. But as a as a human race, some of us, or most of us, are intuitive. We want to explore, and we always want to research. And whether you believe that is a trap to keep us occupied, or for instance, if you believe in Gnosticism, where it says God, the Creator, hid himself in knowledge for us to find, so we would get closer to him. It is just up to you. And like I said, on this channel, I try and respect everyone's beliefs hopefully they respect mine. That's why I try and be impartial as much. It's just about showing you different ideas. That's why certain things might go against what I actually truly believe in, but I still put it in because, you know, you have to see both sides. So we have at a time from Mercator making maps, and that was really the start of the map making, in the sense of Mercator had north at the top, and that's when it got brought in with the cardinal directions. And I've showed you the connection between the cardinal directions and Cardia to Janos, and Janos is their god. He originally had 4 faces, just like the compass, just like the cross. I keep telling people about this entity, and it's not necessarily just Janos. Janos was the key. He was a janitor. He was how I found everything else. Basically, I found a doorway and I've used it, and then when I found this entity, it's led me to more. So it's just an intriguing method of how I learned. So we had these directions, and they were also supposedly made up. We've had an era of, we've seen it with basically even Tartaria. Tartaria, according to historians that I found, you know, on the interweb, Tartaria was a name given for a place that didn't exist. Basically, it was like, you know, a dead body in a morgue is called John Doe. That was basically it. They had no name for it, which we all know is a lie, because when you go look into these maps, and if you go for the premises, all Tartaria just means we've not really mapped it yet. There's towns with individual names next to it or in it or past. So you wouldn't necessarily go to a little town, know the little town and not the country. Hello, could I have such and such? Yes, where are we? Oh, we're in such and such a place. And what country is that in? Oh, sorry, I can't tell you, it's a secret. No, you're going to know it. It's, again, an agenda to cover up whatever truth you believe. Some people don't believe in Tartaria. Some people believe it's a psyop. I'm all in just for looking at the information as it is. This video was for me to show you that maps, in essence, are all lies. It's just a part of the agenda. It's psychological warfare. They want to create division. And it's easily done. As again, when you go to school, some people didn't like school because of obviously indoctrination. But if someone else come into school and called you school, you would defend your school. It's like anything in life. Your area is where you live. It's like your domain. It's like an animal instinct. You guard and patrol your area. Anything that goes in that area that's not wanted, you attack. Same with different types of maps of this realm. People get called names. Oh, well, this is proven not to be right. It's a fake. You're a shill if you believe in that map. Well, aren't all maps lies? We didn't need north. We travelled for thousands of years. We've got advanced cultures building buildings that we can't replicate today. How did he do that? How did he converse the oceans without a compass? We'll ignore all that. Maps are true, maps are not lies. And that is the type of thing you're going to get. They're all political, religious, and basically spam malware. It's to inflict more psychological warfare on us. Am I saying everything is fact that I'm talking about? No, it's just my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion, just like you guys who watch it are entitled to yours. I don't even say it's fact. I just found it interesting that all maps have an agenda. People are making maps that are not even travelling to these locations. North doesn't exist in the sense of we have it. So if people were travelling for thousands of years and you had south at the top, north at the bottom, west at the top, east at the top, how did you get around this place? It's like something's been held back. It's like a secret. We use the stars. You have people in the 70s making their own maps. I think it's a MacArthur map. He lived in Australia, got so sick and tired of people calling the land down under. And some people even think Australia doesn't exist. So this guy made his own map. I think it's the MacArthur projection. And he has it opposite way around. And even with Australia near the middle. Now this is an intriguing thing as well. And again, I'm not stating it's fact. But when people in Australia are looking up and seeing the so-called Southern Borealis North Star, because obviously they say you can't see it. What I'm saying is, how can you identify what is in the sky as being what you are seeing? There's no way of you tagging it, is there? You're seeing it in the sky, you can see this pattern wherever it, if it moves. People say stars don't move, but they do if you time lapse them. People don't even realise that the North Star, Polaris, is not always been the North Star. Antiquity, it was Thuban. I've said it many times in many videos. And people always, so there's a lot we don't know, and we're always learning. So if they're travelling off the stars, these stars have different names. It's like when you look up in the sky, you see a sun. There's a lot of images now going around social media of double suns, 3 suns, 4 suns in different places. The ancients believed there was more than one sun. You've seen them in images, but metaphorically, or the bicameral mind, are they talking it metaphorically, or is it what they're seeing? And these are the things that we always can't answer. If we see someone drawing an image on a cave, did they actually see it? Or were they tripping? Were they on mushrooms? Were they on some form of alcoholic? We just don't know. Were they hearing voices? Are the voices actually God? So you can see the point of why I made the bicameral video, just to show you we just don't know. And the truth is personal. I keep saying that. It's also a rut it can trap. So, like the truth is magnetic. Some truth sticks you, some truth doesn't. People use a lot of the intuition and gut. Your gut's never wrong, that's the saying. But can it get influenced by outside forces? Conflicting with your brain, because people always talk about the conflict between the brain and the gut. So you can see a lot of why I do this video, in a sense, just to show people. I just want people to think. I don't want an agenda. I don't want people to think I'm right, which I'm not. But I just found it interesting that people are using maps for proof, yet they're lying. Not them in sense, but the maps. Like the Mercator, it bulges and make everything bigger. Land masses. And people use this for proof of their videos of sizes and this and size and that. And size. Well, it's a lie. So it's hard to show evidence for something to corroborate your story if maybe the story is a lie itself. It's another part of history. All maps are his story. His person who made the map, the king, the queen's agenda, the cabal, the elites, persons to create conflict. We are going to war with you. You're encroaching on our lands. Nights away. So you know what I mean? It's just fascinating, and I just, like I said, I just use it all and treat it all as information. That way I try and not get triggered. Don't worry people if you get triggered. There's different types of triggered in my opinion. There's a triggered which is just an emotional response. It shows you're alive. If you don't have an emotional response to something, it just means you're not alive. But also there is indoctrination spell, which causes triggers. And these are what every one of us, even me, have to fight day in, day out. Because sometimes we find ourselves slipping into different things. When we just want to create a place of critical thinkers. Just thinking different. There's no harm in thinking differently. Sometimes there is harm if you think you're 100% correct. Nothing as bad as someone who thinks they are, enlightened. Because they think they're doing it for a better cause. How many times have you seen something or read something? I only did it because it's for the greater good. We're all important, and that's just my personal opinion. We're all important. We're all needed. It just also on the point of these maps is when I was doing this and showing you that map, and it showed you a wall going across the Sahara or a pathway. Do you know what I mean? Because it's from a perspective. They're either looking at a wall or they're looking down. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, I found a new wall. I've done a video on walls. I keep meaning to put it back up or re-edit and make a new one. Because like I said, some of my videos are not the best. It's about getting time. Sometimes I'll have more time on a video. Sometimes I'll have less time. I'm just, finding it really, really hard to find any time in the minute. But I like to, talk to you guys through this because you mean a lot to me. It keeps me going, you know what I mean? It's just a strength. We all need something to hold on to. So that just intrigued me that there was a wall going across the Sahara. I did a video on it and never heard of this. And even now, if you put in ancient wall of Sahara, you'll not find nothing. You'll just find this new wall. Well, new wall. Is it 30 years old or something like that? And the Moroccans built, supposedly, this wall thousands of miles long, filled with mines and IEDs to stop insurgents crossing more desert to get to more desert. And the region, supposedly they say it covers, it goes like this, where that wall would have started, but that's up. And in that area is not far from the Eye of Sahara. But again, it's a map, so can we believe it? But it's still intriguing me. Are they covering something that we know they do it? We know they used ISIS to destroy ancient buildings. Were these ancient buildings actually real? Like I said, we always get to a stage where we always sometimes overthink things like, are they actually real? Are they actually you know, I mean, are they made to fool us? Is it another part of history? So it's all like that. Again, I still love it. It can be what people class as lies. All things to me is information, and I just love putting the pieces together and putting that puzzle for me to look at. My puzzle doesn't mean it's your puzzle. You might have extra pieces and you make it even better for yourself, and that's the beauty of the truth. We're all making our own puzzles in the best way we can. And this, seeing that new map, well, not a new map, it's 1370. I've saw it so many times, I just didn't twig. Where's that wall? And then to see that Trump said to some Spanish prime minister or government minister, why don't they build a wall through the Sahara to stop migrants? And it's actually following the very similar trajectory of that ancient wall or pathway. I'm like, is that a coincidence? Are they hiding things in plain sight again? I just find it intriguing, guys. Again, to put in with this video, I just want to make something you sit at home think, yeah, you know what? I'll think on that. All maps are lies, or they have an agenda. Because again, like Mercator, the West Wing wanting to change it for another map because he got it wrong. He projected the North and South Pole to affinity. He said it doesn't really matter where they are. Well, you should do if you're making maps. And then we're talking about compasses, and well, how do you sail the seas without no compass? We use the stars or any other device. I know the Vikings used crystals and different things so they could see through the fog and different things, and the sextants, but I think they come in later in life. So you know what I mean? There could be ways of doing it without a compass, because obviously these were advanced. They might have technology that we don't actually know about. I just find it fascinating that the compass that we know it with the magnetic piece was made roughly, give or take, I can't remember the date because I'm not going to go back, 13th century in the Great Vowel Shift period. Maps had north on the top, but sometimes maps still didn't use north as the top in the sense of what we know it, but still put it there. So it was like the plan agenda for this spam, for the maps, was starting to bring in this period that I find so fascinating, that we need better minds than me, people with more time than me, to look into this. Obviously I've done a video on it, and people really, really enjoy it, and it's just showing people the importance of a time period when everything was reset in the sense of the English language, because that's the online dictionary. They need everyone to be able to speak English. That way the indoctrination, the spell, the evil English can be basically reinterpreted and recorded. Because what happens is when, like I said, I call, for instance, I'm just an example, I called you something negative. Doesn't matter if you're positive and you ignore it, you're still recording that back in your head and your brain's read it. And like Bruce Lee said, the body does not able to know if it's a joke or not. You know what I mean? So we just have to be more respectful for people. I try every day to be more respectful, and this is like with maps. How many I've seen it, people being called out because they follow a map, because the group, the clique, the clan follow a specific map because some YouTuber have said this is right. Well, that's where we're falling into the trap. How could we possibly map? How would you base it? I'm not saying I know. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like GPS uses three points, and obviously it correlates your actual thing on it. But if landmasses are wrong, and each landmass has a specific like IP address, coordinates, and you type in these coordinates into an hour computer and different things, and that's how you get there, like a sat nav. How did it get there in the ancient days? Was it just from obviously the Great Vowel Shift period? Did they use compasses to directions? It's just intriguing that it fries my brain to think about it. Like I said, I ain't perfect. I'm not saying this theory I'm talking about is perfect either. I want it to raise points that you can say, yeah, I can see why you're saying that. If we travelled for all these thousands of years and we had Jerusalem at the centre, east at the top, south at the top, and we live in the northern hemisphere, and then you got maps in different places. Are we actually in the southern hemisphere? Is this actually what's going on? And that's what this video was hopefully going to do. It's going to show people that maybe everything is wrong, and we know it. We don't. I've seen so many people say history is just one big lie. And another lie is all the maps, the spam. I mean, why have north at the top if north is a man-made construct? And in my original video, I was talking about how there's another name for Satan or the devil. Like I said, I don't know exact words. I think it's Hillel ben Shara. And people are talking how he wanted to sit at the head of the assembly in the sky above the stars of El, looking up north to him, like the Chinese emperors and other kings and people wanted. It's like in Game of Thrones, they always put emphasis on King of the North. Well, are they actually going north? North is just a word, a spell. For instance, if we had a cardinal direction, north, east, south and west, which obviously spells news, and I'm saying I'm going east, is it a case of they're the main directions, east and west, because obviously the sun goes up and down and sets in those directions? And did we have all the names for this? Because I believe the old word for north was the side of your cheek, because when they were looking at the sun or something like that in the east, it would hit the cheek on the left, something like that. You know what I mean? You're talking about things I'm trying to remember on the fly. I just want, like I said, I want to make a video for you guys to basically digest. Some of you would have seen the original one. If you want to go and watch it, it's on my Odyssey channel, the Black Sheep Research, and the stuff I didn't even put in this, that's in that, because I want to be more palatable and basically to the point, asking the question, if all maps are lies, where do we live? Do you know what I mean? It's just intriguing, because it is true. Some of the points I've made are factual in the sense of we know these places are not as big, or do we? That's the point. It's like a mind fat trying to mess with your head, isn't it? We just do not know. The more I seem to learn, it seems to be the further from the truth I'm actually going. But that's cool, because, you know, I just want to keep learning and keep helping, taking my mind off things. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. It's obviously been a while since my last one. I'll try and upload different things at different points. I can't give a specific time. Like I used to try and get a video at least once a week, but I was just finding it hard and hard, not sleeping and different things. And you know what I mean, we always put family first. You know, my home family, and then obviously you guys are my online family, and I respect and love you guys for the support you show me. Hopefully you can help me by, you know, giving me love and support and sharing the channel, because like I said, I'm not going anywhere. It just means I'm not going to upload like once or twice a week like I was doing. I was just finding it too hard, and you don't want an ill media. So thanks guys. So the moral of this video is all maps are lies, in the sense of the spam, the malware. They're trying to cause, a fraction between all the truth communities, which they are. How many people do you see falling out over they believe this, they believe that, and the shape of this realm, and all actually think, you know what, I can put aside my idea of where we live because I'm here for my family, I'm here to make this world a better place, and the so-called elite or cabal are the ones that we need to fight. Do you know what I mean? You can't be perfect. We all argue and fall out with friends online, but surely we're here to make this world a better place. We're in a dire time at the minute, and we need the light shining on them, not each other, and blinding us. We need to blind them and show more people, hey, this is what's going on. So guys, remember, stay safe. Always with a smile, pay it forward, and show the love. Shower everyone in love. Some positivity. We need some. Right guys, take care.